so many researchers have been laid off. There's been a crunch in the tech sector, and as a consequence, there's fewer jobs for more UX researchers. And often the companies don't really know what the benefits of UX research are. In the first edition of the book, we included a whole section on building your career in UX research, which goes way beyond this idea of a portfolio. It's much more than that. There is something else that's happened as well over the last few years. There's a belief that anybody can do UX research. All you need to do is give people a clipboard or a survey or whatever, and then they can go off and they can do research. And what we emphasize is this idea of UX research being something which is a core skill. It's something that, although anybody can learn how to do it, it does require some learning, some education, some background. So I'm not a believer in that everyone needs a PhD in behavioural sciences to do UX research. It certainly helps, but there's a certain amount of core knowledge that people need to be aware of. These skills are critical. You need to learn them. You need to work out how do you go about doing research with real users in order to get the insights that you need to move your product forward. One of the problems is that UX researchers can feel isolated. There's not a community often that they're part of. Part of the problem is that then the UX researchers aren't close enough to the action. They're not aware of what the business is doing. They can become too siloed and blinkered and only think in terms of UX. But it's important to be working alongside your colleagues to make the kind of change, and also to show them what the benefits of UX research are. The conversation only happens when you're part of the team, not when you're some kind of external resource. The effects of the pandemic were to have a sea change in the way a lot of UX research is done. So now there's much more remote UX research that goes on than there was before the pandemic. Now remote UX research was always a thing. What we've done in this is add a number of chapters specifically on remote UX research. Not only do we explain best practice and how to go about doing it, but we also talk about the real risks and limitations of only doing remote UX research. We feel that there's still a place for in-person UX research. It's really important to get next to your user, see what they're like in context, understand their environment, and that's the only way you really get an empathic view of your users. But remote methods have obviously got their place. We would just recommend that they're part of a portfolio of techniques that you use.